Secondly, the standards in social work education, which underpin the new degree, make very clear reference to ethical issues. And again, I won't read through them, it's in the pack, but I would say Marianne Hughes, who's here today from EVOC, has done some work that no practice teachers are finding very, very useful in pulling out the ethical aspects of CISWE and giving tools for practice teachers. And if people haven't come across that, they might well want to approach Marianne during the day to talk about it. The framework for social work education, of which the standards are part, also includes a requirement for involvement of service users and carers in all aspects of social work education. And I think that has the potential to enormously influence the development of ethical practice. Much of that involvement may be at early stages, but it is developing. I think we're all seeing changes and far greater involvement, and we see the benefits that come from that. Okay, so I think the codes of practice and the standards provide a framework for promoting ethical practice. So what can managers do, both during and after qualified social work education? Well, for me, the most important thing that a social work manager can do at any level in the organisation is to develop and foster a culture of learning. And that means an atmosphere in which debate and divergent views are welcomed and valued, where people will talk about issues of concern, where those things aren't squashed. I think we'll all have experience of different kinds of working environments, some where people debate issues, think about what's right and wrong, why they do what they do, and other environments in which that kind of debate is squashed. And I think we all know which kind of environment produces both better work and people who are happier in their work and maybe stay a bit longer. Okay, so I think that's a really important part of what managers do. Pay attention to ongoing learning needs, to support and supervision, to resisting the kind of cynicism and disillusion that can build when pressures and demands seem overwhelming. And it means resisting those kind of mechanistic and resource-driven responses that can arise. Social work's an activity that requires thinking and challenge and creativity. And effective practitioners, I think, will only develop in atmospheres that foster those things. I think we know from the business world and research into learning organisations that learning organisations are effective organisations and they actually make more money. And we can learn from that in social work that if we can build learning organisations, we will recruit and retain better practitioners and will provide better services. And I think for me, one of the signs of a healthy organisation, and it's always a joy working in multicultural family base and hearing the kind of buzz from constant discussions that go on amongst students and between students and practice teachers about lots of really challenging issues. So that as a healthy organisation, you know when you go into a team room and people are talking and they're challenging each other and really thinking about what they're doing. And that's not time wasting, that's a healthy organisation where people will provide better services. Okay, so I think managers also have a very real contribution to make towards qualifying social work education, and particularly perhaps in the involvement in practice learning. So that's a very key part of social work education, and we're not going to have the recruits that we want unless we contribute to their learning. So I think good social work managers, they'll grasp those recruitment and retention possibilities from being involved in practice learning. And they won't do that just when there's a recruitment crisis and then forget about it again. So I think managers should welcome the contribution that students bring to the workplace, and that's both in terms of their contribution to practice and their enthusiasm and challenge and ideas that people bring. And that's something that all teams that welcome students will always quote, that they bring a buzz, a challenge, a creativity into the organisation. We should value practice teachers. These are precious people, and we should encourage them to go on being practice teachers. And we should value link workers and encourage all workers to contribute to students' learning. And we should contribute ourselves as well, I think, by remaining active as practice teachers or link workers, encouraging other people to do so, being available to meet and discuss issues with students, seeing them as part of the organisation. Most of all, I think we have to create that atmosphere of critical and creative learning for students and for workers. Okay, so I'd like to end by just talking briefly about a couple of developments in multicultural family base, which I think have a potential for contributing to addressing these issues. We have, our organisation, for those that don't know, combines the provision of services to children and families, mainly for black and minority ethnic communities, with practice learning opportunities for students. And so the values that have been enshrined in the values requirements and now in the codes of practice in SISWI are of course very dear and I hope very explicit in our organisation. We've been developing a range of partnerships which to offer opportunities for, we hope, high quality, inclusive and challenging practice learning opportunities. Now one of those is a joint post with the local Children and Families Practice team. Right, this is a very busy team which operates under enormous pressure. The joint post is developing opportunities for students to become involved in work from the area team, and it also means that the learning that students gain from being placed in a setting such as MCFB is brought to influence how they carry out that work. And that post is promoting an ongoing dialogue between ourselves and the practice team, and we can use that to look at the different approaches, the different pressures that there are on statutory and voluntary social workers, and to explore and confront some of the ethical dilemmas that arise. And I think we also probably contribute to the City of Edinburgh's recruitment. And that came about because of a lot of hard work and enthusiasm and commitment on the part of managers from MCFB and the City of Edinburgh. The second one is a shared post with Harmony School. And that means a very experienced practice teacher from MCFB, Steve, who is here and doing a workshop, is working part-time at Harmony, developing practice learning in a residential school for children with emotional, social and behavioural needs. So this has brought together two organisations that have a commitment to high standards of anti-oppressive practice and of learning, and is very effectively producing an increased number of high-quality practice learning opportunities. But it's also having spin-off results in further developing the learning culture within Harmony School and in developing shared services. Again, a key factor in allowing this to happen has been the drive and enthusiasm of the Chief Executive at Harmony and of my predecessor at MCFB. So these are practical examples, I think, of the ways in which good social work managers and leaders can make a very real contribution to addressing human rights, social justice and issues of power in social work education, and helping to produce future social workers that will bring and retain that passion and commitment to their future working lives. Thank you.